All right, welcome to the first and maybe last. I don't know. I have my white friend held hostage here, and we're gonna be talking about Deltarune. So, I'm Suhaib, and this is
Sean, what's up?
yeah, and yeah, we're just like we're expecting Chapter 5 to probably come pretty soon. So, let's just go over all the bull crap, all the brain rot, all of the questions that we have about this stupid game that have been haunting me for the last like 3 or so months, which is, it's got to be worse for you, I'm sure, because you've had like years to think about these things.
Yeah, honestly, considering everything else in life, this game occupies an odd amount of my
Yeah.
headspace.
Yeah, and like I'm basically a Deltarune LARP, I played Undertale for the first time in like January, and then I played Deltarune pretty soon after.
Yeah, you blew through everything really quickly, I felt like.
Yeah, well, I was super unemployed back
Well, there you go.
then. So it also, at least for the Undertale run, it did help that I played like pacifist. Like I didn't ever play like a neutral route, like a true neutral. Like I'm just like doing random shit.
Yeah. I actually
So
didn't know that was possible. I thought you had to start neutral.
technically, it's like a neutral where you don't kill anyone, but then you can immediately unlock the like true lab stuff if you also did like the dates and all that stuff. I looked it up because I knew that if I made it so that I would like have to play the game like a bunch of times, that I wouldn't play it all the way. And I wanted to really fight against Sans. So that was my real motivator, and it pretty much worked out that way. But yeah, I beat Sans, and then I jumped right into this bull crap called Deltarune, which I think is so much less straightforward than Undertale. Um, and that's why we have a bunch of different questions. So the first question we gotta ask is, why the fuck are there so many questions? I guess part of it is because of the way that it's being released. Like, it's not being released all as one game, so yeah, that probably adds into it. But also, like, I think when you decide to put out a game that takes all of the characters from your big breakout game and just like pretends like there's no relation to the previous game, that just inherently makes a bunch of the questions kind of come about.
Yeah, especially since you're supposed to play Undertale first.
Yeah.
Um, Toby Fox specifically said Deltarune is a game you can play after Undertale if you want. But then you go to Deltarune, characters don't know anything about Undertale.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is Toby Fox is trying to fuck with everybody, trying to get him to play a shitty new game, but it worked. And I enjoy Deltarune a lot. But that's neither here nor there. We're not here to talk about the gameplay of this game. We're here to talk about all of these really crazy questions. So, yeah, why don't you choose a question
Yeah,
that
let me look.
a burning question that's not what does Ral say, because I know that's gonna
Yeah, I love. I have a lot of questions about Rousey. It's just a shady guy,
yeah.
shady guy. But why don't we talk about what's the final panel of the prof?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Or
Starting with
actually, do we even know that the panel that Susie breaks is the final panel? Not
that's
necessarily. Could just be one that she didn't like.
well, then what is the final panel then?
Well, I have a feeling that whatever it is, it's not good for Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't know if it says like the world is going to end because the prophecy seems to be heading that way. It does say, the heroes show up at the end of the world,
Mm-hmm.
supposedly
Mm-hmm.
to save the day. But yeah, it seems like whether they succeed or fail, there's some bad implications for somebody, which I think is probably Chris based off of Susie's reaction to seeing the panel. But it's also interesting it's probably not a prophecy about a bad ending for everyone
Mm-hmm.
because it is the town religion and they worship it and like it. It doesn't seem like they live in fear of it. So,
I wonder now. Okay, like I I have to word this kind of carefully, because I don't want to spoil a different game that I'm not going to name. Um, so I'll set aside what I'm gonna actually be talking about and just say, what if it's like this one game that Toby Fox says that he likes, and maybe it has something to do with the mechanics there or some of the lore there. I wonder if the prophecy is like everything kind of gets reset back into like a cycle.
hmm, that that's interesting because when you think about all the like diegetic aspects of the game, like the game knows it's a video game.
Mm-hmm.
It's presented as a video game. A lot of stuff only makes sense because of the medium in which the story is being
Mm-hmm.
told. And
Also, drinking game for everybody at home. Take a shot every time diegetic is mentioned in any Deltarune video.
it's just what it's called. But um, what I was gonna say is, if it is a loop, that's interesting because so many different people own the game.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be like everyone that plays the game, that's the next cycle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be that. It could be. I mean, in Undertale, when you finish the game, you don't just go back to the end of your last save. You have to basically. I mean, I guess you can, but like you're supposed to reset.
Yeah,
So what if resetting is like a thing in this game too, but it's done via the prophecy, right?
maybe. But in Undertale, you can't really reset. Even when you do the true reset, if you've completed a genocide route ever,
Mm-hmm.
true reset doesn't wipe that. They'll still remember it.
No, yeah, I understand that, but like maybe that's how it also works, but it's still a reset, and maybe like Susie doesn't like the idea that they would go back to how it was at square one when we could make new decisions again or something. Yeah, but I mean that's just a thought. I don't even know if I would necessarily like that direction because I think one big thing for me is I do think that there on some meta level, Deltarune is supposed to follow some of the ideas and structures of Undertale, but I think it doesn't follow it within its like main story. I think it follows it through like the characters, like for example, how Asgore and Toriel are not together, and the reason why is because Asgore clearly did something that went too far. Asgore's role in the world is very similar. Like, he was supposed to be like an authority figure that kind of, you know, I guess he's still an authority figure in Undertale, but realistically, like, nobody gave a shit about him there other
They
than,
liked him.
yeah, they liked him. It was mostly like Undyne and Papyrus, but it didn't feel like there was like a kingdom, like a really organized kingdom anymore after what
Yeah.
happened because he was just focused on like, I just want to
It,
grow my flowers,
it's
right?
interesting that they're divorced in every timeline.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's funny, but now that I'm on the topic, it's also interesting. In Undertale, they say Sans and Papyrus just showed up and
Mm-hmm.
asserted themselves. And when you start Deltarune, the first time you talk to Sans, I'm pretty sure he says like that he just moved there and that his brother doesn't have any
Yeah,
friends
yeah,
yet.
and there's like all kinds of parallels with that. That like parallels between Deltarune and Undertale through the existing characters. Undyne is a cop, and Undyne was basically just a cop in
Yeah.
Undertale. And yeah, this is all stuff. I mean, that's been mentioned a lot before, but I don't want it to mean that the story of Deltarune is also going to resemble the story of Undertale. Well, Deltarune has a bunch of characters that also weren't in Undertale, like Susie, like technically Rouse, depends on what Rouse really is. I don't really believe in uh the what is it called? The Azrael's Ash theory
Oh
or
no, I
dust.
don't believe that.
Azrael's
Azrael's at
dust
college. I
theories.
I don't think it's some
Yeah.
big trick that he's at college.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything crazy. I think I'm depending on I think there's a lot of theories that are a little bit crazy that a lot of people will be like I hate that theory and totally reject it, but I feel like Toby Fox can make a lot of stuff work. And I do think that if there's like a secret Azrael is the night like thing, I do think that would be interesting. I think the main reason why I dislike it is because again that feels like a retread of Undertale. Like
Yeah.
make
Like,
him this big
Azrael's
reveal.
the big reveal
Yeah,
again.
like no, like
No.
that's not gonna be as interesting. That also it is also kind of unfortunate. It's both unfortunate and fortunate. Uh, that we can compare to Undertale in the sense that we have like something that gives an expectation, therefore that thing can't happen. Because if we expect it to happen, then why would you ever put that in the story? It wouldn't be as entertaining. But on the flip side, it narrows down some of the possibilities instead of like just going in blind, like I have fucking no idea what's happening.
Yeah.
I guess back to the question about the final panel of the prophecy, though.
I thought of another thing.
Yeah.
Another thing that Susie wouldn't like that actually seems like a likely possible outcome,
Mm-hmm.
which would be that they get rid of all the dark worlds.
Yeah, I've thought about that possibility, and I think there's a lot of foreshadowing to it because Rouse will not shut the fuck up about how he's completely worthless and that the dark worlds aren't real and that the darkeners
Right.
aren't real, like all this stuff. I don't really believe that. I don't think
Yeah.
it's clearly not that cut and dry. It's clearly not that simple. But the other thing to it is like I also feel like that would be, I think, maybe too simple. I think as far an Occam's razor guess, I do think that's like a really good Occam's razor guess. Is just the prophecy is that dark worlds would cease to exist, the darkeners would, and maybe it could even be that it says the dark worlds will cease to exist, and they think that means that the darkeners can no longer exist. But there's also been some like kind of like Susie really wanted Rouse to be able to come to the festival.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll find by the end of the story a way for the Darkeners to kind of come into the light world.
Yeah. Well, we've seen the Knight do it.
Well, that is if the night is a darker. But maybe the night coming to the light world means
The
that
Knight's
they're not.
really interesting because they seem like a Darkner. They're kind of like fluid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess there's all kinds of monsters in the light world, but the Knight, I'll just say, unless we get some crazy other evidence, seems pretty clear that
Probably
it's
that's
Des.
yeah. I think I still think it's an interesting thing because from the perspective of somebody who just played Deltarune, didn't know anything about the previous theories, and then like when everybody was talking about Des is the Knight. I'll tell you this right now. My first question is who the fuck is Des?
Yeah,
because
I recently replayed it,
mm-hmm.
and replaying it after having played Chapter 4, when you actually go to Des's room
Mm-hmm.
and all that. When you go back through, I mean, in Chapter 2, they talk about December.
Definitely because I didn't replay Chapter 1, but I replayed Chapter 2 to do the weird route, and I replayed Chapter 3 so I could
Chapter 3 they talk about her.
Yeah, fight the Knight. And I mean, one thing is that the code is literally the code everywhere every time is 1225.
Yeah,
that's the code that gets you through the. I've also not seen many people mention how it's the same code that gets you through to the end of Chapter 3, and also is the code to the shelter, and
also is the code
December
to the
25th.
Gotcha machine.
Yeah, and it's December 25th.
And it's a code in Chapter 2. I don't remember where but it is one, I'm pretty sure. And then in the rooms that Queen makes everyone based off their internet search history, Noel's is like has a calendar where every day is December 25th. Because I assume she was searching December holiday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's that stuff all added together. Like December is clearly a very important character. Now, I know you haven't seen. Have you seen Twin Peaks?
No.
Okay. I know that there's already been theories talking about the connection between the television show Twin Peaks and Deltarune. They're very similar in the sense that the premise of Twin Peaks is that it starts with the girl who's kind of like the star of like she's like the most important girl of the town basically. She dies, and everybody had some kind of connection to her. And it's a small town, and they're all closely knit, closely connected, and it's all connected. It all ends up being connected to this dark world that kind of exists on a different dimension, and there's copies of people, and there's like a light version. There's literally a light version of it and a dark version of it. Like there's a light. There's like yeah. There's all these things, and Laura Palmer, who's kind of that character. Also, another thing about her is that she's very multifaceted in the sense that she was connected to kind of the dark underbelly of Twin Peaks, the town, but she was also part of the light side of it. There's a very huge like theme of duality throughout the TV show of Twin Peaks, and the Laura Palmer and Des Holiday, just like to me, the just like the whole setup, the whole scenario, the whole plot line, and this kind of otherworldly stuff, like it's so parallel to me. I don't know how much of that is because he's watched the TV show, or if it's just kind of it's kind of become, I think, like a trope over the years because of that TV show. But it's just that's just something that I've thought about a lot, and in that sense, I feel like that show also has its own version of Friends, because there's like kind of like this evil being known as Bob, which is such a similar
Evil
naming
Bob
scheme too.
To
just
very straightforward.
just Bob. And Bob is very like, he's kind of the reason why Laura Palmer goes down the direction that she does. And in Twin Peaks in particular, I think for Laura's case in particular, Bob really represents like essentially like let's just say it's supposed to be kind of a metaphor, but also very literal, like sexual assault stuff. There also are like themes of that come up, especially through the Snowgrave route. So yeah, I think if you haven't seen it, you should watch Twin Peaks. I think it'll give you a lot of ideas. I think they're very connected. If you, not even from a theory perspective, if you just want to see something that's like gonna remind you of Deltarune, I think it's a great TV show to watch. On that note, but yeah, it another thing that it has is very connected to this idea of dreams. So in the like second episode, the FBI agent who comes in to investigate, he says I don't do no normal investigating. I go to sleep. I use the Buddhist method. I do dreams. He has a dream, and then the deceased Laura Palmer talks to him, tells him who killed her. He wakes up, and then he says, "I don't remember."
Okay, wait. So he walks in and says, "My whole strategy for figuring this out is I'm gonna go dream about it," and then he does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he does dream about it. He does in fact dream about it. He uses he uses the Tibetan method at first, where he's like, okay, we're gonna set all of these different people out here at their pictures, and I'm gonna throw rocks, and whoever it randomly hits, like these photos, like that's who we got to start investigating. Like he's like all about like vibes.
Okay.
Yeah, Dale Cooper, he's the goat. But anyway, I think that also ties into Asgore. Okay, so Asgore is trying to figure out what's happening to Des for sure.
Yeah, right? I think he probably just knows at least most of it.
Yeah,
and he just can't prove it because no one knows about. Yeah, he has a black shard, which, there's the shadow crystals. A lot of people have shadow crystals. You're going around collecting them.
Yeah.
There's only one black shard that I'm aware of outside of Asgore's, which you get from chipping the knight's sword. It's like a piece of the sword that comes off. So why does Asgore have a black shard? Like, is he going to Dark Worlds?
Dude, I think I just had a thought. What if the knight is not Des, but is actually imitating Des?
I thought about that too.
And that's like the thing. So I guess let's just jump into the sword route, right?
Sure.
we're not going through the list
as
linearly as we want to do, but that's because like this is the conspiracy board, all right? This is gonna be the thumbnail. Yeah, dude, there's a lot of shit, but in the sword route, you're probably thinking of what I'm thinking, so you can
What are you?
The like okay, so in the Shadow Mantle game, when you
Yeah.
get near the end and you're in the last room and you have to kill all these guys, there's that one room where the guy like imitates all of your shit,
Oh,
right?
yeah. No, I do want to talk about that.
Yeah,
So there's that shadow monster in
yeah,
there that just does the reverse of whatever you input. And by default in the code, their sprite is a black deer. But and on their class or whatever,
yeah.
however it works in Game Maker, like when they're initialized, they have a variable called Toriel, which is set to false. And then as soon as they actually start running, it sets it back to true and never touches it again. And it literally wastes the time to set all of the sprites to this black deer,
Mm-hmm.
and then has an if block that's like, if Toriel is true, then go and replace all the sprites with that shadow.
Which is so interesting to me. I think the sword route overall represents basically the whole game. To me, the sword route is Deltarune, but condensed to like one like speed run of the whole game. Um, and that's why I also think it's interesting that there's some genocide stuff, but I'll get into that. But going back to the shadowy thing,
Yeah.
that definitely represents the knight, right?
Yes, because the knight tries to kidnap Toriel in chapter 3.
Yeah.
And then in chapter 4, presumably tries to kidnap Toriel again, opened a dark world in the church where she was supposed to have choir practice.
Yeah.
And she just coincidentally wasn't there.
Yeah. Which I think Sans
Knew something?
knew something.
Maybe.
I think
Sans be knowing.
yeah.
Sans just
He's
knows
always
stuff.
knowing stuff. I mean, he still has the ability to be in multiple places at once.
Yep.
He seems to be able to defy space and time.
Yeah, he's doing shit in the light world.
Yeah.
Like just teleporting around.
Yeah. Like he doesn't give a shit. But yeah. So if that's the case, that's also extra evidence. Also, like if it's the black deer, and then that other deer is the one that turns into the ice monster girl, which we know that that's part of representing the weird route, like the Snowgrave stuff. So clearly, like that's supposed to tell us, like, hey guys, the knight is Des.
Seems like
kind of, maybe.
Yeah, but the whole sword route is very I don't know if I want to say controlled by, but heavily influenced by Friend.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm like most likely he definitely gives you the controller for it. He literally appears in it, and like,
yeah, yep.
I'm of the ERAM is just the Shadow Mantle. Like I don't believe in like the nightmare theory or whatever, because half of that was actually based on people not knowing how it actually looks in the code.
I mean, ERAM is the fan name.
Yeah.
Because in the game it's actually called Mantle, I think, or Shadow Mantle.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely the Shadow Mantle, but the one who's talking to you is Friend, and the one who's trying to kind of help you, because I think Friend wants to, maybe Friend kind of was pushing you into try to actually like take on the knight, you know, properly, instead of just doing the scripted, you know, WWE fight. And then it's still a scripted loss in the end, but there's something going on there.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about, so we connect to the soul via the device.
Yeah.
And then Friend has the image and device prefixes in front of their files.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know we've talked before about like the third entity theory or whatever. And there's some demon soul driving the knight.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, let's just cut out the middleman and just call it Friend.
Yeah. It could very well be the Friend. And maybe Friend has the ability to just literally just shapeshift. I mean, we kind of do see it in the first place. Like, he's just blending into the shadows, just appearing in random places. Yeah,
I feel like every time we see Friend, every time we see any more than a smile, they're in a different shape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the night shapeshifts too.
Mm-hmm. And maybe the Friend has either some way to go back to the light world, or Friend, and I don't feel like people mention this idea as much. Friend could just be some Lightner.
Yeah.
Like in the first place. We don't really We don't know as
Well,
much.
or
Maybe he's one of the
what?
cat girls.
Well, if
And then the alley.
Yeah.
What are their names?
Caddy and the other one.
Yeah. Yeah.
What? So the Lightners are from the light world, which, depending on who you talk to, might be considered heaven by the dark.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know for sure. We don't know if that's what Spamton was referring to or not. But
Right, but yeah.
But what if Friend is not a Darkner, but from the depths, and we just don't have a word
from
for
the other side, right? And that connects to that demon. So yeah, the demon theory of controlling the night is that would be somebody from the depths. Maybe Friend is just somebody from the depths coming out and
which
to do who knows what. Maybe because I feel the roaring seems to be a way that to kind of merge all of the world.
Yeah,
that's I think what it's supposed to be. So I think it's supposed to be a way for them to kind of emerge and take over into the light world.
Yeah, because normally, I mean, there are some objects that you can take back with you from the dark world.
Mm-hmm.
Shadow crystals, black shard,
mm-hmm.
eggs. But normally whatever happens in the dark world doesn't like actually move any objects in the light world. Except in chapter 4 when they let the Titan out and then the church is all busted up.
Mm-hmm.
So it does seem like the roaring can affect the light world. And back on the Friend. It's interesting that Friend appears in multiple chapters despite not really having an associated object. Which maybe that's because they're from the depths and they play by different rules, but I've also noticed obviously Ralsei can do that unless Ralsei is an object like Chris's shirt.
I think a lot of people have the horns headband thing that Chris wore to kind of pretend to be a monster. That's a theory that people have. I don't really buy into Ralsei being an object.
Yeah, no.
Either Ralsei's memory similar to Gerson, although that's also
but
sketchy.
Gerson was like ashes. I think Ralsei could be more like the Spamton Neo body. Because that shopkeeper, if you ask them about it, it's not Sham. It's one of those guys in chapter 2 that I don't remember what they're called. They're like white with like a multicolored pin.
Mm-hmm.
But they said that body was like manifested from the hopes and dreams of a light.
You know, on the topic of Spamton, I also think Spamton is a whole box of curiosities that if you really try to untangle, you start to get to some of the secrets. And one thing I don't know if I've really seen a lot of people bring up in the many theory videos that I've seen so far, why the fuck does he help you with the weird route? And before diving into that, I'm pretty convinced that the weird route is actually the true route that the prophecy expects. Kind
of seems like it.
Pretty sure the girl is not Susie. That it's actually Noelle because Susie's supposed to be a dragon according to Gerson.
Yeah, Gerson says Susie would be the dragon, which is not one of the heroes.
And the other thing is that when the love, what is it?
Love reaches the girl. Love finds the girl. And the girl has hope cross on her heart.
Hope cross on her heart. The hope cross on her heart sounds so much like her. Very snow gravy type.
Yeah. Well, you give her the ring.
Yeah.
And then the soul like goes into her or something.
Yeah.
And then love, of course, in Undertale
is level of violence.
Yeah.
And she's the only one that can really kill anything pretty much.
Yeah.
And to me, that makes me feel so certain that that's actually like the way you're, and also the sword route giving you instructions on it is so interesting to me. You know, that's chapter 3 first playthrough was not one of my favorites, but like after going through the sword route, really digging into like what's really in the game and just basically playing an entirely different game within the middle of the game was, I feel, really enlightening and opened up a lot of different ways that we can interpret the game. For example, one of my craziest crack theories, although it might relate to something that might be more palatable, so maybe I'll start with a more palatable idea. I think that Deltarune could just be a game kind of or a simulation that you connect to from Undertale, right? I think there's a number of holes in this argument, but the reason why I kind of think this is because the Sword Route seems to connect so heavily to like representing what Deltarune as a game is and showing all these different things about the nature of Deltarune, which includes the weird route. But it's also like the way that we connect into that game is really similar to how we connect into Deltarune itself. Like there's some kind of device connecting us to it. Then there's also the interesting ending thing that you've brought up a couple of times that we've talked about of the Chris inside of the game walking out when you go to get the shadow.
Yeah, so the sword, the 8-bit Chris leaves the game, and then when you go to get the shadow mantle, regular Chris just walks into the game.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that was very interesting. Because obviously Chris is no stranger to going to the Dark Worlds.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like going one more. It's interesting actually. Now that we're talking about it. So they're in the Dark World. The sword, the mantle game, it's one level deeper.
Yeah.
And you fight Friend in there.
Yeah.
I mean, Friend kind of helps you, but they're an enemy in there. And what are the depths? Like one level deeper.
Yeah, one level deeper.
And
maybe the shelter can actually reach into the depth.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, that's kind of the...
Well, I'm also suspicious of the lake.
Yeah,
the lake nearby. Because everywhere in Deltarune, darkness keeps getting compared to water. And even in the prophecy, they directly call out like cold water fell from the sky or whatever. But I don't know, they treat darkness a lot like water. There's the dark fountains that flow out. You have the shadow mantle. Darkness flows off of it like water.
Yeah.
And your friend, Onion-san, they're talking about, oh, I hear someone playing a song from deep in the lake. I'm going to go check it out. And then they just don't come back. So there's something going on down there.
There's also, if you remember in the Mantle game, when you have to literally cross an ocean, like all the way through, and you go further and further than what they, if you try to go up that way when you play it in the standard playthrough, like TV man, what the fuck? Why am I Tenna will fucking stop you from going all the way there. But then in the actual Mantle game, after you do a genocide route, you can then go all the way up there. And by the way, this is my crazy crack theory, is I think Deltarune is a simulation that exists after the genocide route, that Gaster, after being shattered across space and time, somehow rejoined back. Maybe. I mean, if you have a somehow in a theory, it already sucks. Anyway, I think it could be this idea of trying to piece together the original determination of all these people by simulating them and seeing if he can recreate them. Because my number one thing that I keep coming back to is Deltarune is supposed to be this fucking experiment for this Gaster who appears in Undertale as really an Easter egg, which makes it even more interesting that the Eggman within these games is probably connected to him.
Yeah.
And I just cannot wrap my, like, I want to know what is the experiment? What does he think is so interesting? The thing that finally like gets him to interrupt the middle of the gameplay too is when you keep trying to fight against the Roaring Knight, and he's like, very, very interesting that you decide to like keep going, and you're basically filled with determination, essentially, is what he says, which is something that doesn't come up at all in the game, to the point I don't even believe determination actually normally exists within Deltarune.
I lost to the knight on the last attack.
Yeah. And he has a special message. He has a
special dialogue. He's like, "Oh, I could sense your power there."
Yeah.
Which, that's an interesting phrase. There's a lot of references, maybe not a lot, but there are significant references to your power in the game.
That's also, it's the your power that's the name of that music that plays whenever you seal a fountain.
Yep.
With your soul.
Yeah, I mean, I think whatever the experiment is, he's particularly interested in what you slash the angel can do.
All right. All right. I think we're starting to run out of time a little bit here, but let's like kind of gauntlet through some of these remaining questions. We actually did answer a good amount cuz yeah, honestly, let's end off just on the Forgotten Man, and cuz I think that's one thing. I'll just jump to it. I really liked your theory that you set for it. So you can
Okay. That he's papyrus? That one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, if you look at the papyrus dating minigame and all the stats come up on the screen, one of them just says egg.
yeah.
There's an egg there. Who else likes egg? Temmie. But Temmie's, as far as I know, not a man.
Mhm. And she's around.
She's
Like, we
around.
see her.
Well,
She's not forgotten.
she puts another egg out on her desk for every egg that you've collected. But I don't know. There's we haven't seen papyrus anywhere.
Yeah, Papyrus, Papyrus being missing is so integral to, I think, the collective brain rot of the Deltarune community, to the point that we had, of course, the original Papyrus Knight theories, which I was not around for, and then now the revived crackpot theories of Papyrus Knight, because we still don't have Chapter 5.
Yep.
Here's hoping that it gets announced this week, dude, because seriously, like, the fact that it took me like just a couple of months also to get to catch up with your level of brain rot is, I think, like, says something about this game, and it's crazy. Like,
Yeah. Well, one time, like a month or two ago, I met someone new, and I think they were screening me to see if I should be their friend or not.
right.
And they asked me who's the Roaring Knight, and I was like, well, it's Papyrus, and they were
Yeah.
like, that's the right answer.
Yeah.
I could tell.
Oh my god, yeah. I hope we see Papyrus in Chapter 5, because I love Papyrus.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love Papyrus? We need to see what's up with him.
It seems like
It'd be really funny if he doesn't show up for like almost the entire game, and then he just shows up in like the post-credit scene at the very end of the game or something.
Well, I've been checking.
What did I miss? what did I miss?
On my replay, I've been checking his house every chapter, and the description keeps changing. I think the first one said like you don't hear anything, and then the more recent time I checked, it said there was like a distant bone trousel or something. So maybe he's getting closer.
Interesting. Maybe the only way you see him is after you've gotten all of your shadow crystals, and whatever you make from that will like cause him to show up to you and be like, "Yo, dude, what do you got there?" or something. I don't know. I need to see Papyrus soon. All right, and then probably like maybe one little thing we can touch on if there's anything left. Because I feel like we incidentally touched a lot of stuff. We didn't go over the pointed tail, but I don't think that's as interesting of a question from just like
the one thing I want to say about that is it ties into the egg thing.
Mm-hmm.
The Forgotten Man in Chapter 3 gives you his schedule, and it's clearly in the wrong order.
Mm-hmm.
And then the organic, I think they're called, like the dark version of the piano at the church, says it was all mixed up, and also says that the children followed the pointed tail to the place where the forest would grow. But that sentence is all jumbled too. So I think there's something going on where either this information is like being obfuscated, or maybe something interesting I saw someone say is maybe once all the chapters are out, there is some route you can do where you do things out of order, like selecting later chapters first and then going back.
Yeah, I've actually thought a lot about that too. Especially with how you can kind of get the shadow crystals out of order if you want to, and some things that persist just across the same save like kind of line, but not like
Well, I also think, I don't know all the details on this one, but I heard someone say that if you do the weird route on any save file, the other files like know about it, or something changes. I don't know all the details.
Interesting, yeah. Well, I'll have to look into that one. And then I guess yeah, this I think this is gonna just have to be its own video, but we're gonna ask at some point, what does Rel say? Maybe we'll find out
Ralsei.
with chapter
Yeah,
5.
he could be from hell.
I think
Or
I
the
think there's a
depths.
lot of suspicious stuff about Ralsei. There's a lot of I have a lot of questions. I want to know whether he knows he's in on the game with the knight and Carol and all that, because like, was it Chris that slashes them down at the end, or is it the knight? Why is Ralsei so surprised when they're already fighting the knight?
Well, here's my crazy Ralsei thing briefly. Frankly, I think that Chris and maybe Azrael and Des, I don't know, have been like going to dark worlds and playing around for a long time.
So you think
Because
maybe Ralsei was somebody they played with?
well, I don't know, but I think Ralsei a lot of times is talking to you. Especially, he'll just say like, "Press this on your keyboard,"
right.
and then he sends you away to talk to Chris in private.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Chris knew him before or not.
Mm-hmm.
Ralsei might be kind of a newer thing that showed up, but I think he's totally aware of the player, probably because he knows the whole prophecy.
Yeah,
I feel like all the Darkners that know the whole prophecy
Mhm.
get really weird and also can show up in other dark worlds.
Like Spamton.
Yeah, you bring the Spamton and Jevil item with you to other worlds, and they're not in your key items like Lancer or
Mhm.
Starwalker or Rules, but they still show up and they don't turn to stone.
Yeah. I think, to me, I think everything that happens in the Dark World was actually made up as a game between Chris and Des, and that's why they have a whole. That's why they have a whole lore background.
Yeah,
from
a bunch of them
before,
have a background,
and they have like all of this stuff because all of that lore was made by them in like their playing, and then I think maybe they talked to Friend, and Friend was like, I can make this real. I can make this a reality.
Oh, wait, that could totally be it.
And wait, did we need this whole?
Really
did we crack?
No,
did we
like
solve
that.
it? I feel because I think, and this is building off of someone else's theory. I wish I saved some of these theories more, where somebody said this idea of like, you know, some of the things being like kind of their creations, and I'm like, yeah, like what if they just played a game with each other just all the time as children, and then they made this deal with the devil to be like, let's make all of this stuff real, and then they have, and that's what's causing the problems.
I could see that being it.
And that's so also like there's such a like meta level to it too, of like and I think this is going to be a great place to end this video off. The ending of this game was something that Toby Fox imagined in a fever dream long time ago, long before he made Undertale or Deltarune itself. And to me, I think as an artist, I have all of these different characters. I always talk to Sean about the story that I've been working on forever called Anomaly. And I've been working on it for so long, since like about 2015, that a lot of these characters are so real in my head that it affects the way that I write my story itself, to honestly tackle that idea of like that difference between reality and fiction, and how the things that we imagine and interact with within our own heads, the things that we imagine are in fact real, from the fact that we are real, and our thoughts do exist. They are real things, and we turn it into reality. And so Deltarune could very much be the game about creating a reality. And that's also chapter 3. Maybe the reason the sword rat is that way is because if you think about it, Tenna is kind of trying to create this reality within his dark world.
Yeah.
That he's imagined based on all of his experiences, being with the family over the years, watching the TV and stuff. And basically the family splintering ultimately because of Des. Like, you know, Des' disappearance is clearly the thing that really like shattered the family. And I think this story is that's where it all ties together, is that it's supposed to that Tenna's kind of experiences of trying to recreate that stuff. He seemed to want to make a well, he had the Mike guy that he would always talk to.
Yeah.
Man, the true Mike. I love whoever said that Mike is actually Friend, which if we go off Spamton, whoever Spamton is making a deal with,
yeah,
that's all supposed to be Mike, right?
Yeah, I think it could just be the knight.
Well, I think Spamton made a deal with Friend. I'm pretty sure Friend is
I mean, he wears the glasses.
Yeah,
and have the same colors. Yeah.
So
but the knight could also.
Right, that's true. and that's but the fact that they made a deal is also another piece of evidence to be like, hey, what if that's actually just supposed to
Yeah.
what if
And then-
Spamton's even memory of that deal is actually a representation of the deal that like Chris and Des had made, but then the actual like the cost of the deal was basically Des's soul, right?
The cost of
The-
Spamton's
No,
deal?
no,
Oh,
not
no, they
Spamton's
just
deal.
both
The
made
the
deals.
deal to
Yeah,
create
yeah.
the worlds and their memories and all that
Interesting.
stuff.
Interesting.
And Spamton, I think Spamton's memory of that deal is not his own memory. It's a memory that was created from the game. Maybe even Friend himself was their creation by accident. He became fucking, I don't know. I might not go that far, but I do think Friend is an entity from hell that talked to these kids playing their games, imagining all this stuff. You guys can play forever by creating them as real things. The Dark Worlds got created, and boom, that's that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we solved Deltarune for good. So Toby Fox, you could just release your game. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
we already know what's gonna
there's
happen.
the Nintendo Direct tomorrow, so
Mhm.
Deltarune tomorrow.
There better be. I'm uploading this tonight. Okay. And if there is not Deltarune tomorrow, I will be pretty mad. Okay. All right.
We
well,
gotta have something that people are going crazy.
Yeah, we're going crazy. Clearly, did you just hear this fucking 40 like hour long rant almost? Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's gonna be it for today. That was pretty fun. We're gonna have to do a chapter 5 discussion in this format or something once
Well, maybe then we can follow our
Yeah.
list of topics.
Yeah.
We have like 15 notes here, and we did not
yeah.
follow it. Just talked about random things.
Well, we ended up touching everything at least.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think.
because it's all tied together.
It is all tied together. I think the one thing we didn't touch is what does Rouse say, and again, that depends on how much gets covered. But yeah, let's maybe if we don't get answers anytime soon, let's make a or if we only get the release date tomorrow, then we'll still have more time to have some discussions. So maybe whenever the fuck you're gonna be available again, we can put together a discussion about what is Rouse as our next video. So watch out for the what the fuck is Rouse theory video discussion. And yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Hope you had I hope you guys aren't as broken on the inside as I am.
See ya.